You're listening to Spotlight on Business on Newstalk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. Once again, here's your host, Laura Smith.
Welcome back. This is the Merchant Alliance show for Downtown Elkhart. DoDowntownElkhart.com is the website that you can go to find out everything going on in downtown Elkhart. Venues, restaurants, boutiques, stores like bicycle shops, or better known as Pumpkinvine Cyclery. That's a very fancy way of saying bike shop.
It is, yeah. It's kind of a made-up term, cyclery, but it's something that's been around since like the bike boom of the 70s, and I don't know, it's kind of a fun word. We like it.
It makes it sound rather interesting and poetic. But you have been, you said, riding bikes forever. Now you own this business. I know you're expanding in some way. In what ways do you expect to expand Pumpkinvine Cyclery over the next couple of years? Yeah,
so we started off with our one location in Middlebury. This past year, we moved to a second location in Elkhart. Right now, it's more about expanding the cycling community that we have. We support a race team that has 50 plus active racers. I think our actual roster is about 70 racers. Just did a race this weekend that we had 17 podiums in the race out of.
What does that mean?
So there's about 800 racers that competed in the event, and we had 3 overall wins in their respective categories, and then another 14 that were age group wins. Mm-hmm. So we've got a very active community, and part of our store isn't just about pushing product, but it's about building the community behind the store and building the riders and creating those experiences with customers.
And creating those relationships. You said your wife is heavily involved in creating infrastructure around, is it Elkhart County or is it Michiana in general? Tell us some of the projects that she spearheads.
So my wife works with the Community Foundation of Elkhart County, and they have an initiative that is essentially bringing Elkhart County up to par with other cycling-centric communities. So looking at ways to connect neighborhoods and school systems and shopping centers into a cycling network so that people can live by bike and can get to these places by bike instead of having to get into a car for every small trip that they take. So her passion really lies in that. My passion with cycling lies in the people and the riding and the experiences. I've built cycling infrastructure as well, but most of the infrastructure I build is on the off-road side of things. So Bonneville Mill Mountain Bike Park was spearheaded by me and a friend of mine. And then we recently reimagined Mary Gibbard Park in Mishawaka, which is an off-road, what they would call like a pump track or a jump course. So it's built on the Mary Gibbard playground, and it just gives kids another fun way to get outside and get off their screens.
That's tremendous. Absolutely. Get off their screens. When it seems like there's always a debate, some people absolutely love the bike lanes that are put into roads. Other people, don't like them. Other people are afraid of them. Where do you stand in terms of, as an avid bike rider? Like, do you think we need more accessibility for bicycles, in downtown areas, in the cities, as well as out in the country?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, creating safe spaces for people to recreate is really important in a community. And it's not just important for the people who are actively using those spaces, but it's important for the growth and development of a community. So part of building a community is creating a vibrant place to live, that there's industry for people to work, but then there's also ways for people to recreate. And most people don't want to live in a concrete jungle. They want to live in a place that when they get off work, there's things for them to do. And having safe infrastructure that they can take their family on is really critical to draw people to northern Indiana to work.
Yes. Well, and so in your shop itself, I mean, it's a two-floor, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So our Elkhart location, we occupy the main floor, and then there's a financial firm that occupies the second floor.
Okay, I wasn't sure about that or not. But how many bicycles do you actually own, Spencer?
Oh gosh, are
you a bike hoarder?
No, I tend to kind of go the opposite direction and go to the top end. I am guilty of if there's something that is nicer and gonna make me faster, I'm probably gonna own it. So I think I own about 4 or 5 bikes, but they're all the creme de la creme of bikes.
So speaking of that, what does an average bike cost these days, and what does a creme de la creme type of bike cost?
You can buy a brand new bike that's of bike shop quality for around $600. And I refer to it as bike shop quality. There's obviously department store bikes, and a lot of those are just don't hold up in the way that people need them to hold up. So coming into a traditional bike shop like mine, they're going to start around $600. When you're looking at a top shelf bike, it's typically around $12,000 or $13,000 for a top shelf. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say $1,300.
No, $12,000 or $13,000. We recently sold a $24,000 bike, which.
Where did that come from?
That one's custom built. So you'd mentioned earlier in the show, if bikes are made in the U.S., this one is made in the U.S., but it cost him $24,000 to have it made in the U.S. Now it is built specifically for him and specifically for his riding needs, with every single detail focused on how he's using the bike and what his needs are.
I get the impression that bikes these days are lightweight. You talk about that carbon material. Can people lift a bike with like one finger? Is that sort of a bragging? For sure.
Yeah. So like the lightest race legal bike is 15.2 pounds, which is, there's like a governing body for cycling racing. Now, my personal lightest bike that I've owned was 13.5 pounds. So wasn't legal to race it, but it was sure fun to have a bike that light.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's kind of this pursuit for getting every little advantage you can on the bikes. And weight's not as big of a concern as what aerodynamics are now. There's been a ton of research on low-speed aerodynamics specifically for cycling.
Mm-hmm. I would imagine. And also about the culture of biking. Do you create events yourself or your wife, or do you belong to, are there lots of groups here in Elkhart County that you can have bike excursions together, not for racing purposes, but to just meet new people, meetups, that kind of thing?
Yeah, for sure.
Singles bike rides.
We do, typically we do about 3 events a week through our store. We do a Wednesday night group ride, which we have 4 groups that leave, so kind of for all skill levels. We do a Thursday mountain bike ride at Bonneville. We do a Saturday morning coffee ride in downtown Elkhart. All of our events that we put on, we post to our Facebook page, but not our business Facebook page. We have a separate Pumpkinvine Cyclery ride and race. It's a group page so that it can be more community focused, where other people can post events that they're doing.
That's great. And do you have members of all ages?
We do, yeah. There's young kids that ride with us that are 10, 11, 12 years old, all the way on up to the world champion that I'd mentioned earlier when we were talking before the show. He lives in the region. He's 95 or 96 years old.
And he's here?
Yeah, he lives in Michiana. Yep.
And he's 90 or 95?
He's at 95 or 96.
95 or 96?
Yes.
Do you credit some of his so-called longevity and the ability to do something like ride a bike to the actual healthful benefits of riding?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can't deny the health benefits of riding a bike. When I worked with him on doing Bike Fit before one of his world records. And the interesting thing with him is he only rode his bike 3 days a week, but he practiced flexibility and mobility work every day. So we actually do yoga sessions at our bike shop as well, because I'm pretty passionate about the idea that, flexibility and mobility is such a critical part of people's lives and remaining comfortable in their own body.
Of course, absolutely. Do you teach safety also?
I mean, we always try to ride as safe as we can. We don't necessarily do any classes or clinics on it, but in general, when you're riding with a group of cyclists, there's certain safety precautions that we all take. Helmets are important. Hand signals to communicate with the other riders around you is important.
Lights on your bike, that's important, because I drive to work for
Absolutely.
The morning show during the week, and sometimes I will be less than 2 feet from a bicyclist on the side of the road with 0 lights or reflectors on his bike, and it's dark.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, please, you just please stay alive,
Lights are extremely important. I would recommend them to anybody riding a bike. They even make lights that have radar detectors in them. So my tail light will actually show on my bike computer screen when cars are coming up behind me, and if a car is approaching too fast, it gives me warnings. So again, anything that's out there to improve safety, I think it's critically important that people take advantage of that.
That's tremendous. I often wonder, do people who ride bikes on roads, on public roads, do they have to follow the same guidelines, such as stopping at red lights, being able to pedal through a yellow light, that type of thing? Because I was in Mishawaka recently, and there was a guy, he looked like he might have been even in his 70s or something. He's riding like a racing bike, and he literally went right through a red light at a major intersection. And I was like, my goodness, not sure if that's allowed or not.
Yeah, so in general, cyclists should adhere to the rules of the road, right? You should ride your bike as if you were a car. Now, there is some kind of gray areas being on a bike, and having ridden all the years that I've ridden, like I kind of understand some of the gray areas and some of the reasons why people might run a red light like that, where a carbon bike doesn't trip a road sensor. And so sometimes you might sit at a red light and it will never turn green unless there's another car that pulls up behind you. Other times you're trying to get ahead of the cars behind you to kind of get a jump start, because maybe you're turning on a road that's a quarter mile down the road and you're not wanting to hold up traffic.
Yeah.
So there's sometimes reasons that a cyclist might do the things that they're doing.
Sure.
There's also what they would refer to as an Idaho stop. So, or an Iowa stop. I don't remember the correct term for it, but essentially coming to a stop sign, not coming to a complete stop, but rolling through. Mm-hmm. On a bike, you're using all of your senses. You can hear and see and smell and so much more than sitting in a box of a car. Mm-hmm. And so coming up to a stop sign, you have a much more keen understanding of what else is coming up to that stop sign. So coming to a complete stop is really difficult on a bike, because that means getting the bike back up to speed. You're not just pushing on the gas pedal. And so that's another reason you might see a cyclist not come to a complete stop at a stop sign. So give us all a little grace. There's usually reasons on the back end. And I think that at the end of the day, everybody's just trying to stay safe on our public roadways. And
For sure. Well, it is a beautiful art for sure. And I wish I would become more involved in that. I have a feeling I'd lose a lot of weight, for one thing. That would be helpful. And then just also for the sheer joy of it. Spencer Short, owner and president of Pumpkinvine Cyclery, along with his wife, who's the vice president and doing so much in our community. It's all, not just about selling the bikes. It's really a lifestyle, it sounds like. A healthy and beautiful one as well. How can people find you? How can people get in touch with you? Maybe they have questions about a specific bike that they're looking for. Should they just come in and see you, or can they call you on the phone? Can they email you?
Yeah. First stop, you can head to our website, pumpkinvinecyclery.com. We have a little text button there that will go to an inbox at one of our stores. And then we have our two locations, one in downtown Middlebury on Main Street and one on Main Street in Elkhart. So feel free to visit us in person anytime.
Wonderful stuff. Thank you so much. And of course, with the Merchant Alliance show, we love to talk about all things downtown Elkhart. There's a website that you can go to for all of that as well. It's dodowntownelkhart.com. dodowntownelkhart.com. This has been the Merchant Alliance show. I'm Laura Smith, and we'll see you next time. Happy cycling.
If you missed any part of today's show, log on to 953mnc.com and look for the Spotlight on Business podcast. Be sure to tune in again next Sunday afternoon at 4:30 for Spotlight on Business on News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel, your breaking news and weather station.
Podcasts by Federated Media.